Yes, I would meet obviously with OTOC and help convene members, diverse stakeholders in regards to helping develop more of a comprehensive approach to address what we know are some challenges with housing and safety codes. And to elaborate a little bit more, as you heard the question, the city of La Vista and the state of Iowa, just right next door, have a property registration ordinance that looks to try to bring landlords under the guise of local governments to evaluate, one, how their buildings or their properties are currently being managed, as well as giving their code inspectors the ability to know what properties currently are kind of up to date and more information about those properties since they are rental. I've said this before throughout the campaign that I think it's a conversation that we need to have, but as in any other very difficult issue, I've always said that to be able to see a policy like this occur in Omaha, you'd have to make sure that you're able to build consensus to some extent in working with property owners, working with neighborhood associations, working obviously with members of OTOC, the city council, the city planning department, code inspectors, and the like, that you'd have to be able to truly make sure that process that I said yes to really was a fruitful process, and this ordinance or this idea that Iowa and La Vista has needs to be part of that conversation moving forward. Lastly, it's something that I announced back in January in light of some of the issues we heard coming out of Washington, D.C. in regards to the Trump administration's executive orders on immigration and refugees. That I said as mayor, I would help lead and initiate a Welcoming Omaha initiative, which as mayor would bring our immigrant and refugee communities together inside City Hall to focus in regards to ensuring they have the appropriate information coming from City Hall, particularly our city planning department, as it relates to their rights in their housing areas. I think as much as anything else, without having just an exorbitant amount of information in regards to how state of Iowa and La Vista does it, at least a little bit I do know in talking with people in the planning department. One, you've got to obviously have it be publicly available in regards to the public can look online, see what properties obviously are rental properties, understand very easily identifiable who is the property owner. That's something I know, if much as anything, we've seen challenges in regards to finding out who actually owns properties when the city council dealt with this zombie property issue. So for me, as much as anything else, any ordinance that would involve, I would say, a landlord registry moving forward, you'd have to make sure that all the information that is collected, it's easy to understand, easy to be able to provide to the public, and easy that people can utilize that in regards to understanding more about the properties moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
To your first question, yes, I will assure that the RFPs moving forward have a fair, open, transparent process, and that we're able to allow the public to come in and take and provide environmental feedback in regards to those contracts. I've been very clear in the course of this campaign that I do not support what the administration has done over the last 2 years in regards to commingling our yard waste with our solid waste. And to some extent, I find some of the science behind this to be very skeptical, not because I say that, it's because the EPA says the same exact thing. That says exactly what you just heard, that actually we see more greenhouse gas emissions be put forward when you commingle yard waste with solid waste instead of what we currently used to have in regards to that separate composting option. I've also said, outside of immediately going back to holding waste management responsible for their contract to separate the two, is that we would look to create either a public-private partnership or we would look to privatize Omaha moving forward to ensure its long-term financial sustainability. The one thing we do know and what we've learned is that the city of Lincoln actually created Link Grow based off the concept of Omaha years ago. And somewhere along the lines, 50 miles down the road, they've been able to create a very similar model to ours and be able to see Link Grow continue to be financially sustainable moving forward with their separation of yard waste and trash, which I think it's simply a matter of leadership and a desire to actually believe that this is not just a good product for residents, but it's also good for our environment as well. Well, that's a great question, and I alluded to a little bit of it earlier, I believe, in the first answer in regards to something we talked about very early on in the campaign, which is as mayor leading an initiative called a Welcoming Omaha initiative that brings our immigrant and refugee communities as well as our social service and nonprofit providers inside City Hall to truly try to address some of the issues you just heard, not just in regards to interaction with law enforcement and public safety, but obviously other issues in regards to civil rights violations, engagement obviously in regards to the most basic rights people have with housing and interaction with the state and other local governments, the school districts, as well as working with immigrants and refugees in regards to economic opportunities opportunities they have. The one thing I think the research is very clear about is that more and more small businesses are started every single year by immigrant and refugee business owners and or entrepreneurs, and assisting them in regards to finding their own economic opportunities in City Hall through reducing the regulatory burden and helping them walk through the roadmap that's needed inside various city departments to be able to create their business is something that I pledged that I would do as Omaha's next mayor. My last year in the legislature, last year, 2016, I co-sponsored the original LB 194 in concert with former Senator Kathy Campbell and a number of bipartisan senators who saw the issue of predatory lending becoming a much bigger issue, not just in my area in South Omaha, but areas across Omaha and Lincoln and across the state of Nebraska. The one thing I do know with my former legislative colleague, now Council Member Rich Pauls, who was also in the legislature when we discussed this issue, is that this issue really does still lie at the forefront of the legislature in regards to state law. So as I've mentioned before, I'd look as mayor in regards to what is available for the city to try to address something in regards to ordinance-wise or city charter-wise. I think the one thing in regards that we've looked at and explored is based on, to some extent, the Good Neighbor Ordinance that the City Council passed, is looking at zoning ordinance as it relates to predatory lenders and payday lenders, in the sense of trying to restrict the number of payday lenders in certain vulnerable neighborhoods. To some extent, the one challenge we see where I live in South Omaha, and I think Councilman Gray and others in the north side of the city would attest that we have, so unfortunately, a significant number of these payday lenders in our areas, in our neighborhoods in the city, in comparison to other areas across Omaha. Another issue that I think the mayor can help lead on is to help facilitate the creation of new products with the private sector, particularly with credit unions, who've actually been willing to test out new ideas to be able to not just gain members in regards to their unique financial system, but truly try to provide that bridge mechanism that people know exists for low-income, vulnerable families who need a short-term loan but are unable to get a short-term loan from a traditional bank. So in conversations with credit unions in my time in the legislature, as well as I ended my legislative term, this was something that they've continued to explore and they would like to continue to explore at other levels of government. As the senator who worked on PACE financing for 7 years, I can tell you the entire premise behind that bill was to help property owners, residential property owners, middle and low income property owners particularly, find financing that they're unable to get right now through banks to provide upgrades to their home. I personally would find it offensive that someone say it's rotten that there wasn't consumer protections both in the legislative bill that we passed unanimously in the legislature, as well as years spending time with financiers across the country who feel that this can be done. It's simply a matter of leadership and whether or not you value residential property owners over commercial property owners. But to end on a positive note, my name is Heath Mello. I am running to be Omaha's next mayor because I believe that we can be a better city. And I truly believe we need to begin building the Omaha of the future. And in my mind, the Omaha of the future is a more welcoming, more connected, more innovative city. My priorities throughout the course of the campaign have focused on reinventing the way City Hall does business, focusing on our infrastructure, but also looking at public safety and trying to address that at its root causes. And that's trying to make sure that every single zip code has access to living wage jobs, behavioral health care, reliable transportation, and quality affordable housing. Once again, thank you again, OTOC, for the opportunity to be here tonight. Thank you.